high-level, awesome day of Starcraft 2 here at the up and down matches with Caldor and Wolf. I am excited.
So am I. This is going to be a really, really good day. We have 5 players once again. This is the 4th group that we have in the up and downs, and we are, of course, looking once again for 2 players to advance to the WCS Premier League.
Yep. And we have some really, really good players in this group. Of course, DRG is in this group. He could finally get back up to that Premier League. You've got Fantasy, a big fan favorite for the Terran. 2 Pros in here as well. And yeah, it's an awesome lineup.
Trap is going to play today. We have Squirtle, we have the water Pokemon, so things are looking good for Starcraft 2 fans here at GOMTV. It's going to be a really exciting day, and especially since we not only have a lot of good ESF players, but also Casper giants like Fantasy, for example, who has constantly been doing a lot better in the past. And then we have old friends like Squirtle and DRG.
Yep. Now, if you look at these 3 groups, you can see who's already advanced. Songduri, Super, Hero, Sue, Pig Baby, and Kane. The 6 of them are already, of course, advancing to Code S, which is the Premier League here in Korea. A lot of players falling that people didn't expect, like Life, for example, Leenock, not able to make it, Yoda, Ruin, Avenge. Just so many players not able to quite make the cut, and are going to have to play in, of course, the Challenger League next season. And here, of course, our breakdown by race for the current players in Code S. There will be 6 more to join them. 10 Terrans, 9 Processes, and 7 Zergs.
Yeah, especially when we look at the finals right now. Of course, when we are looking at the Season 2 finals, there's a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of Protoss players, and now we have the rest of the races. Once again, today we are in a situation where we do not have our observing computer, just as a side note.
Yes. Here, of course, are some of the statistics for this studio for these players that they've ever made in StarCraft 2, and you can see their results are quite good.
This is today's group, and just in general, I mean, we have a really sick lineup. Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, once again believing in the heart of the cards, the root gaming player here, one of the 2 Zergs that we have in this group. DRG, one of those players that we had for a long time, struggling a little bit in Korea, but just recently in Finland, he's been doing really well at the Aces ROG. We have, of course, Squirtle in here, and we have Trap. Looking at Fantasy, the only Terran player in the group, he, of course, has to prepare only for 2 matchups. A really exciting day today, and to be honest, looking at the lineup, I have no idea who's going to advance. I think this is one of the closer groups that we have. D for Death.
D for Death. We've been talking about this for a long time. We talked about it last week, and it all comes down to this. Both of them taking a drink from their favorite drink. Looks like Squirtle likes coffee, DRG likes his Gatorade, and Caldor's strength is being tested here.
I'm fighting with my monitor. It just doesn't want to be where I want it to be.
Yeah, you know, maybe...
It's very resilient, actually. Oh my god.
Yeah, maybe you'll have to...
Okay, sit.
Okay, you got it for now. Hopefully that doesn't fall on you. That would be a tragedy.
Bad boy. You stay there.
You know what I love, Keller, is that this map is going to be on... This game is going to be on Anaconda, and this matchup, we've seen crazy things already with warp ends in the back. We've seen players kill the destructible rock towers to block Zerg players off from their base. A lot of crazy things happening here.
You know what I'm really excited to see this game is that this is one of those maps where we have a lot of aggressive Zerg players that just aim for the rocks right away, trying to get towards the natural and the 3rd base of the Protoss player. But a lot of Protoss players can just use those small gaps and just warp on the other side of it with a little bit of vision, of course, and then go in there. So both races can kind of abuse the map a little bit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's not really the best map. It's not really the most balanced map. It's not a map that players really like. Most of them quite despise it. But it's one of those maps where we see a lot of exciting games because of that.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I don't think it's going to stick around for too long, but it at least gives us a couple of entertaining games. And let's head into our first game today. Squirtle versus DRG here at the Up and Downs with Caldor and Wolf.
Up to the top left in the green, the LGIM Protoss. He is
the water Pokemon.
LGIM Squirtle.
It is Squirtle.
Will he evolve today?
Yeah, will he evolve today? Will he go to the Premier League? We have his opponent to the bottom right. This is, of course, for MVP.
MVP DongRaeGu.
DRG. And DRG in this matchup in particular had quite the run at the ASUS ROG in Finland. He was really, really strong against his Protoss opponents. He took down players like Titan without dropping a single map in the best of 5. The same fate that suffered Relmu at his hands. Then Alicia only took a single map against him. And that was all before he had to face up against Zan, who took 2nd place in the tournament in the end. But Zan, with a very interesting, very aggressive style against Zerg, was able to just take down every single Zerg player that he faced, Hyun as well. So a really good PvZ player in his own regard. But DRG, with a style where he really likes to play Ling heavy, he likes to go into a Ling Hydralisk and then later on in the game making a transition into a Mutalisk switch and then just blindside his opponent with that. That's a style that he really loves to play, but on a map like Anaconda and against an opponent like Squirtle, he might not be able to go down that road.
Yeah. As you can see here, neither of these players have played very many times on this map since it's one of those newer, weirder maps. And you know, Blizzard's already announced the maps for next season of the ladder, and I expect that those will be the same maps that we see in WCS next season as well, and this is not one of them, so probably the last time these guys are going to have to play on this map. But you talked about it a lot earlier with those early rocks and aggressive strategies players sometimes go for. We can see some crazy things, and right off the bat we have Squirtle going for a gateway-oriented expand, and DRG has taken the hatchery first into a gas before pool, so a very greedy opening by him as well.
Yeah, he definitely wins the build order game here. He knows exactly what his opponent is doing right now, and he will be quite happy about his own choice to go into hatch first before he starts with gas and then pool. There's no forge to punish him early on in the game. And if you compare actually the two players, their statistics in this matchup, you find out quite soon that they have nearly the same record. We have 27 games here for DRG, for Squirtle that is. For DRG we have 32 and both of them have a 63% win ratio. So that's actually quite incredible, very on eye level here. But as I said before, depending on what exactly DRG can use here, he might be the one who dictates the pace of the game. If he gets the choice to just start his own style, where we have him with Ling Hydra and then later on the Mutalisk switch.
Yeah.
Squirtle, on the other hand, even trying to hide his own Zealot here for a little bit, which didn't really work out, so in the end he shows it.
Yeah, it's very clear he wants to be safe because he knows that DRG could have gone for an early pool. He didn't scout at all, so he has no vision of what DRG is doing, so he just wants to keep the Zealot safe now at the front, and that's why he doesn't attack the rocks right away. Checks with the Mothership Core, makes sure there's no Lings coming. Now he's going to go back to work on the rocks. He's taking a very greedy Nexus here, but with the map, once he kills those rocks, he's in a great place, and he decides to actually send the Zealot out instead and does a full wall off. You can always destroy those rocks later if he's under a big attack by roaches or something like that.
What you can really see in this game at this point is that we have, with a very early gas for DRG, already him with the speed right at the beginning of the game. So usually you will see a Zerg player at a double extractor a little bit later, but DRG can now just mine with one drone, something that he's actually not doing. But it gives him a lot of safety, and that's the safety that he needs against the opening that we have here for his opponent. He sees the pylon right at the beginning, he can take down that Zealot with no problem whatsoever. So his commitment to a few additional Zerglings in the early game already paying off, and he's able to just take that aggression out even before it really started.
Yeah, he made a lot of Zerglings, now going up to 10 in total, but he had even more before that, and that actually really helped him against that pylon. Does he actually have speed? Yeah, he just finished. Yeah. Okay, so with the speed here, he's going to be able to control the map, and there's not going to be any more forward warp-ins. He knows that. And
this is exactly why DRG can get his third base also at that time. Getting it quite early in the game, getting the third here. We have for Squirtle the follow-up with the Stargate, of course, a little bit faster. But in this particular scenario, with the Overlords on the map, it's more of a question when exactly DRG is going to see that. He's already working on the rocks at the back. This is exactly what we talked about earlier. As a Zerg, you always want to do that against Protoss early on in the game. And what's quite interesting to me is that Squirtle doesn't even have a probe over there. There's no pylon, there's no probe, there's no nothing, so he doesn't really see that.
Yeah.
I feel that he will send something over
the
very soon.
Core.
He has to, because like that is a weak point, and you know that.
It looks like he's just barely going to see the creep here, and that should give him the idea. You know what I really like about DRG is not only does he take a fast third after what he's seen in the control the Lings gave him, but he takes the third base that's out there rather than the one at the backdoor expansion, which means he can safely take that one as his fourth base later on in the game. He doesn't have to worry about it getting sealed off by any weird Zealot warp-ins or Void Ray pressure.
And talking about those rocks just in general and about the weak points that you have taking those bases, in DRG's point to the bottom left, there is already an Overlord in position for DRG, so he's trying to find out what Squirtle exactly is doing. Now we have the tech into layer for DRG. He knows, of course, what's going on with the Phoenixes that already took down his first Overlord. The reaction is imminent. He's going for his own Spore Crawlers. He's losing a couple of drones here, but so far the damage, so far it's not too bad. So far it's still within the limits.
Yeah, not critical damage, not yet. 3 more gateways going up for Squirtle. And Squirtle, with the sealing of the rocks at the front of his expansion here, as you guys just got a glimpse of, kind of indicates he's not going to take a third base anytime soon. In fact, he's adding now a 4th gateway and a 5th one at that, so he's actually going to do some very heavy pressure here. I don't know how successful this is going to be, though, because he's kind of locked in his base right now.
Yeah, but keep in mind that we do not have a Roach run for DRG. DRG, as I said earlier, likes to play Ling and Hydra heavy, and I feel that he will have the time to get the Hydralisks out there, but he really needs to drop that Hydra right away, because Lings alone are not going to cut it here, and there's the Hydra. As already mentioned earlier, this is the style that he really likes and loves, but this is also something that Squirtle will probably know. He must have seen this watching the games that DRG played, especially in Finland.
Yeah. And he will likely see it quite literally with his Phoenixes as he's flying around doing damage here. He's killed quite a few Harvesters, 18 Lings in production. DRG is preparing for a possible aggression here. He's got his Overlord so safe over there in the corner from the Phoenixes. And as it turns out, Squirtle is going to take that third base, or at least make it look like he is.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see him drop that Nexus now after he just added so many gateways.
Yeah.
And DRG, I mean, we can't double check here. As I mentioned earlier, we do not have an observing PC today, but I do not think that he saw all those gateways. So
yeah.
He just cranks out his Hydralisks right now. He wants to be safe here. He does not get the speed upgrade, he gets the range upgrade instead. There is no timing that he's immediately trying to hit. But we have him now with the possibility to be a little bit more aggressive towards those rocks.
Yeah, he's going to start working on those. Those rocks have a ton of armor, but the Lings, of course, will still do 1 damage every time they attack. They attack rapidly. So if you have enough Lings on those rocks, they will eventually get them down. Phoenix is over here, maybe picked off if he's not paying attention. Nice pullback there, does not lose anything. First Overseer is being morphed to Scout, and that's going to give him vision of the third base, you know, how long it's been up, and also those gateways. But Squirtle is really just kind of sitting back here now, adding his tech, and it looks like those gateways he added may have even been just a precaution by him.
And I was just about to say that we should see a fourth base by DongRaeGu any second, and there it is now at the bottom left. One thing to focus the attention a little bit onto is that so far we do not have any... Oh my god, that's a great position here. Nice, takes out 2 Phoenixes. But what I was about to say is that we have DRG neglecting his upgrades because he wants to get his tech out so fast and he wants to get those Hydralisks. This is really crucial because without that, without those upgrades, he can afford that fast attack and he can afford this many Hydralisks at this point in the game. If he goes for the double upgrade a little bit earlier, then he has a huge problem making that happen, and timing attacks are so much more dangerous against him. So that's a really good choice that he went for here.
Notice he also adds the Spire, and he's adding the melee upgrades. So we could see Ultralisk later on potentially. I don't think he's going to switch into Ling Muta since he's committed so much to Hydras already, and the Spire is mostly probably just going to be for Corruptors.
But that's kind of also like sometimes a little bit misleading because this is really what he likes to do. He banks up 1,000 gas, 1,500, he plays his game, and then suddenly he just goes into a massive Mutalisk switch and hits you really hard, even though he has those Hydralisks on the map. But for now he doesn't even really need that. He's already doing damage at the front, he's taking down the pylon, force field's not even killing off maybe 1 or 2 Lings. But there's a lot of danger that DRG at some point will just go for those Mutalisks if you look at what kind of bank he has in gas already.
This is just such a funny map, you know. Never ever on any other map would you have a situation where a Protoss can just sit back like this and be safe with all these bases. A lot of pylons coming up here. He's trying to secure the power on those gateways. The Lings are going to separate his attention here, but he can't put the Hydras into the main base, and he actually runs the Lings away. This attack not really worth it for DRG.
That would be 20 Mutalisks if he goes for it, and I can actually see that
I think he's going to do it, but he goes Corruptors.
He goes Corruptors in this scenario, and you know, considering what we saw from DRG, especially in all the games that he played against Protoss in Finland, I'm a little bit surprised by this choice. I feel a switch into Mutalisk could have done a lot here. He's attacking at that third, but just think about what would have happened if he would have committed his ground forces to another attack at the left side of the map and Mutalisk go into that third base. Because there is currently... I'm not quite sure if he already has Bling. No, he's just researching it right now. But there's not a lot of anti-air there. So I feel a 20 Mutalisk switch would have actually been brutal against Squirtle here.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. You know, he may still later even switch into them, but the commitment to the Corruptors makes it much less likely. He has such a great economy in gas. He has all 8 extractors up and running. Could even add a 5th base when he wants to. He's adding a macro hatch right now. But the scarier part in this game, you know, the more threatening thing that's going on here is that Squirtle's upgrades are getting better. He's built a killer army, and he could actually try to counterattack after he holds this. If he holds it, that is. He goes for another recall.
And the recall is really important, but oh my god, the first one of the Colossi is already down, and the second one immediately being attacked. Corruption is being used here to its fullest extent. He hallucinates a couple of Colossi, but all of the real ones are already gone. And that's horrible news for Squirtle, who suddenly has nothing against the Hydralisk. And here comes the Mutalisk switch.
The Mutalisk switch is on, 16 of them on the way. I know it's really unfortunate for Squirtle that while those Colossi were like in limbo, I don't even know how else to describe them, while they were in their recalling phase, he wasn't even able to fire with them. They gave DRG a good lead in the start of that fight, and he's really running with that pressure. Really would like to see him take a 5th mace, maybe even the one to the very bottom left, because it's so far away from anything Squirtle can do by ground. He's even adding a Baneling Nest here, Caldor.
Right now, we have a really good position for DRG. He has so much momentum, he has so many opportunities, a very mobile army on the map that he can use, and Squirtle is starting to be in a little bit of trouble. His stalker numbers are certainly increasing. What are those Hydralisks doing all the way at the back? They need to be in the fight if he really wants to commit, and now on creep he's moving them away. But that was actually him botching this a little bit. He lost too many units already, and suddenly Squirtle has the much more impressive army on the move.
I completely agree with you there. It was a huge mistake. He was not very careful with his army he was moving out with there. And now he needs a little bit more time to get the units better here. He's going to get force field out. The Hydra's not doing a whole lot here. The Mutas are fighting straight up.
The Zerglings are already gone, most of them. He's trying to get the reinforcements in right now, but Squirtle is doing a really decent job here. Corrupt is being used for corruption, but now the Mutalisks alone, they can't fight this. That's when the Hydralisks come into play. He would like to have that Zergling shield, but he just doesn't have it right now.
He just really does not, and the Stalkers are blinking well. The Mutalisk count is really starting to fall down here. The Corruptor's very useless now, and Squirtle is dropping in supply. Very quick remax here by DRG.
DRG has a problem with his lava right now. He still has a lot of resources, but he can't commit to his lava. Just now the injects pop, and immediately he uses it to get more and more Hydralisks into the game. The +2/+2 is not done for this fight, but it will be done for the next one. And Squirtle is already on the run. That was like one of the best scenarios that it could have happened there for him, since DRG messed up his unit control a little bit at the beginning. But still the Zerg player with way too much power.
Way too much power here, and one thing I really want to note about this fight is the creep spread for DRG is so good that there's really nowhere to run for Squirtle during that moment. If he backs up into creep, he backs up into Spine Claws as he goes to the right side, and DRG, having better creep spread than most Zergs will in this matchup at this point in the game. The Hydra account here is high enough to where he can trade really well with Squirtle's army, but Squirtle micros perfectly here. He can actually take the better trade. DRG just has so much money, and like you said, Larva is really a problem for him. Even though he has that macro hatchery, Larva is the issue, because if he had more, he would be able to remax so much faster.
And we have once again this Ling and Hydra composition that we were talking about earlier, the trademark of DRG in the early game. The Mutalisk in this game never really playing a big role for him. Usually what he tries to do is just fan his opponent out as much as he can and go into the main base while attacking the third, for example. This is really kind of his style that he has shown. But he didn't really do a lot here. The Mutalisks were only used for a straight up fight, and that's not really where you want to use them. So he's not getting any additional ones, but he has the bank that he can switch later on if he wants to. Just the stock account that we currently have for Squirtle prevents him from doing it.
This is a little bit weird because DRG actually, he does not commit here, and he's actually going to walk all the way home. This is going to allow Squirtle to pick off this hatchery for sure. He does not have a Mothership Core though, so there's no recall. He can't run. He's going to have to fight straight up as soon as that Zerg army gets here. He's going to probe at the front, picking off drones.
There's only one Colossus on the other hand, and if this army actually captures or forces Squirtle to fight, then it's going to be really tough for him with all those Lings. But we have a transition into Mutalisks once again, and with those guys, he could actually go for a base race scenario here, and I think he will. If he can get a lot of Mutalisks out, even with the stock count that we see for Squirtle, it's going to be a tough battle for the Protoss player.
He may not even need to, Keller. If he gets into that main base, he may be able to end it with these Lings alone. He's going to do so much damage to production here. The sentries are way too late. He warps them in anyways. No Mothership Core, a big problem here.
The only reason why he doesn't get more Mutalisks is because he does not have the supply. He's already maxed out, and he will just replace all the supply that he loses with Mutalisks now, and then he has a massive army that just can dance around his opponent. He will not fight those Stalkers head on, but with all the bases that he's currently building, he can win a base trade anytime. Look at this, 11 additional ones.
He should even be able to kill this Nexus over here to the right. I think he will target it down, and everything he loses, exactly like you said, will put into Mutas. There's Mutas already coming across the map. Squirtle is pinned down. He was never able to really get a firm grasp on this game, and DRG decides to run with his Hydras. A good choice nonetheless, and Squirtle is in so much trouble right now. He doesn't have an army to trade.
He is 60 supply down, and we will have nearly 40, 45 Mutalisks once that DRG gets the rest of them out. Look at how he fans out these bases, satellite bases to the left side, to the bottom left as well. They are everywhere, and this is something where Squirtle, he just has not such a mobile army. Links to the left, links to the right, and the only thing that Squirtle is doing is trying to chase DRG, and that's not going to work in the long run.
It's definitely not, especially because he's going to lose this Nexus again here. His main Nexus is under attack as well. The Muse just have to right-click. He decides not to target the main Nexus down. He just keeps running his Hydras away. Once he has the support of the Mutalisk, there's no way Squirtle takes this fight.
Oh, God.
Oh, this is just disgusting. He's got nowhere near the anti-air he needs. He's trying to force seal the Lings out. The Stalkers here that are coming in, even those can barely beat these Muse, and DRG is just going to run away again.
Every Stalker counts, and by now we have nearly 40 Mutalisks, 37 in just a few seconds. Another Nexus falls. He could even fight those Stalker numbers already, or try to, with the Hydralisks and the Zerglings on the ground. But he doesn't have to. He can play the long, drawn-out game, and he is sure that he is going to win it. And he's running another circle. He's running once again to the top left, and this is just a ring that he's just walking point after point. Main base, natural third. Main base, natural third. That's the only thing that he's doing. And Squirtle looks at it, is like, well, I can't play that game, so I have to attack. But the problem is, it's a loss-loss situation for the Protoss player.
It absolutely is. He doesn't have enough units either way, and even his probes coming here not going to be enough for him. DRG has way too many bases. He has the bases to the left side. There's no way that Squirtle can kill all of his bases. And he's making even more Mutalisks. The Spire does go down, so he can't make any more after this.
Squirtle is hoping for mistakes now. The Spire finally down, but we have already 35 Mutalisks on the map, and Squirtle doesn't have a Nexus anymore. He's going to be revealed soon. Yes, he has still enough resources to build another one, but I don't think that's going to come into play, really. At this point, everything is going to be eliminated, and to the left side, we still have bases. These are the last few buildings, and then Squirtle will have to defend if he's able to build another pylon. And there it is.
Oh, he misbuilt it. Oh my god, that was close.
Yeah.
We've been having a lot of base raids in this matchup recently, you know. That's the only building he has right now. Keep in mind he can make more. He starts another one here. He's basically just trying to leapfrog his way towards DRG's bases with pylons.
He has his army not together. Okay, now he's assembling all of his units. He needs that position.
DRG could actually just literally right-click on both pylons and try to end the game that way.
Yeah, but that would actually be risky. As long as he's actually just mining at the left, he's just going for it. He knows exactly that
he's
he has
got the better army.
Kills the Colossus first so that the Zerglings can still do damage on the ground, and then he focuses Stalkers down one by one.
GG! DRG, man, looking really strong in this game. Total control.
Yeah, very, very well played. Very dominant performance here. And using exactly that style that we talked about. That's what he loves to do, and we just saw why.
I love to see a player really just come in with their strides with that style that they know, that they're known for. And even if you know you're up against it, you just struggle against it. Squirtle was dominated in that game, and I feel Squirtle is one of the players most people are expecting to get out of this group, and he takes an early 0-1 here.
To be quite honest, every single time I see this style of DRG, I'm a little bit surprised that his opponents don't prepare against the Mutalisk just a little bit better. Because that switch is something that DRG is really famous for, and he makes that work. I was a little bit surprised that at the beginning, when he first transitioned to the Mutalisk, he really tried to fight with them, and I feel that was something that Squirtle forced out of him. But Squirtle, what he never did, even when he was on 3 bases, was transition into Storms, transition into Archons, having a couple of additional cannons at his bases. He couldn't really afford it in the end. He was trying to rely on Stalkers, but with the position that we had for DRG, the Zerg was too mobile for him to catch up.
Definitely true. Squirtle just never able to take a fourth. He was trapped in his own prison that he made for himself, basically, with those rocks. And I love that DRG always was not afraid to attack the left, attack the right with his Hydraling army, making him run in circles.
You can actually argue a little bit that Squirtle played a little bit too straight up. That he didn't really try to throw a curveball to DRG or to surprise him with any kind of shenanigans. Whereas DRG just pressured right from the beginning. Great timing with the Hydralisks here because he neglected the upgrades a little bit. That gave him the opportunity to quench out a few more seconds. And Squirtle, I feel just too straight up. There was no... I mean, having the Warp Prison before the Mutalisks are there, maybe even a little bit later, trying to hide a pylon somewhere, do some damage, run by something, but he never really could do it. So for him it was, I don't know, I feel he was very tied down in this game.
Well, we're going to switch to a totally different game here. Same matchup, different players. Yu-Gi-Oh! From Root Gaming. He is the king of Korea, as they call him. And, you know, maybe he gets into Codes this time. He's up against Trap, a very strong SGX player. You and I were talking about this earlier. We feel like Trap is a really strong player, but nothing about him stands out. He's just an all-around decent Protoss. Not insanely good, but definitely could be in Codes, definitely Premier League level. And he could get out of the group today. It's absolutely possible.
Trap, I don't know. I mean, we talked about this earlier. He's a really strong player. For me, he's always a player that doesn't really excite me too much. I don't know how else to describe it. He's like really good and he's strong and he could go out today, but he's not one of... I don't know how to describe